Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Get Your Horns Up. This is another episode as Bama Week rolls on. We're talking Alabama, Texas all week long. Hey, quick game, guys. Would you rather have Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers or Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe? Nash, real quick, would you rather?
I'm going to stick with Quinn Ewers.
All right, Aaron.
Am I Texas or am I Bama?
Yeah, I'm just asking you. Who would you rather have?
Oh, okay.
That changes my answer. I would take Quinn. I'm just going to go from the perspective of if I'm Texas, I would take Quinn because I still think you can pass the ball.
All right.
Thank you for saving me, Aaron.
We'll get into that in a little bit. I am Travis Gailey. You can follow me at Travis Gailey, Nash at Nash Talks Texas, and at Aaron Little OB. Guys, like I said, it's Bama Week, and I asked you that real quick question just to point out, Quinn still had a pretty good game last week. Deep ball aside, Quinn still had a pretty good game, and he's not someone to just kind of sleep on.
Well,
but if you're joining us and you want to join in the discussion, make sure you jump on the Specs chat line, just like our good buddy Benny Rogers. Thank you. Good morning, Benny. We hope we have a great show. And Zoe checking in with the hook'em. It's Get Your Horns Up, right? He's got them up already. Good morning, Brandon. Hey, guys, if you want to join the conversation, ladies and gentlemen, join in the Specs chat line. We're more than happy to talk with you. If you want to guarantee your question gets answered or if your comment gets read, throw in a super chat. And by the way, we've got a special guest today for our scouting report. We've got Kennington Smith III. He covers Alabama for the Atletic. This dude knows what's going on in Tuscaloosa. If you've got questions for Kenny, get them in. We'll make sure they get answered. Well, maybe. Again, the super chat will guarantee they get answered, but we've got a few questions too, so I can't guarantee every question gets answered unless it's a super chat. How's it going, guys? You ready? You excited? It's Wednesday of game week. It's hump day.
I'm to the point, man. I'm ready for this thing to get here. I'm sure all Texas fans are anxious. We still got 3 more shows of breaking it down every single angle, but I'm ready to sit back and watch this game. I know when I wake up on Saturday, that's gonna be a long wait. I mean, that's gonna be the tough stretch.
That's at least you have other college football games to fill the void until kickoff, right? I mean, you've got game day. Well, if you're a soccer fan, you've got soccer in the morning. If you're not, you've got game day in the morning. Then the other games kick off. That helps fill the void. But yeah, Saturday will be a long day. Fridays are always the longest for me. It's like we do our show, and then there's just kind of a whole lot of just nothing until Saturday rolls around. Nash, what's your mood on hump day?
It's just at this point, it's just waiting for like Aaron said, just anxious for the game to get here. Yeah, it's put up or shut up time now, and it's going to be very anxious. And honestly, I agree with you on Fridays, but normally this Saturday is going to be the real wait. Like waiting until the kickoff time. It's going to be just anxious all day.
All right.
Need the Miami Hurricanes to distract us and play some good football.
Mm-hmm.
Then would you rather have let's say a 10 a.m. kickoff or an 8 p.m. kickoff?
Oh, 8 p.m. 8 p.m. 100%.
Yeah, still 8 p.m. The anxiety is part of the experience for games like this. So I'm going to welcome it.
All right. I love it. I'm with you 100%. I'd much rather have the primetime game. So again, I asked the would you rather question about Quinn, just as a reminder, as I've gone back and looked at the game, rewatched the game, watched the clips, which Nash is so diligent about doing it. Honestly, Nash, it's a service to everyone. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. They're so damn helpful. But even beyond that, I rewatched the broadcast and then I go watch the clips. When I looked at it, I was like, Quinn actually had a pretty good game. And Texas comes into this game, I think, with the advantage at quarterback, which is the most important position to have an advantage on. Am I off base there, Aaron?
No, I don't think so. When you asked the question at the beginning, I was just wondering which perspective, because I mean they're obviously very different style of players. Alabama didn't dial up many design runs in week one. That was because they wanted to save them for week two. They're going to have a lot of design runs for Jalen Milroe. That's just a different beast to try to defend, to where it messes up the numbers that you put in the box. It messes up the numbers you traditionally have in the run game. But I still side with a guy like Quinn, because at the end of the day, there's going to become times where you have to move the ball through the air. And I really like what I saw from Quinn Ewers in the intermediate passing game and the short passing game. When he does have time to throw, he's accurate, in those short to intermediate areas, and he's got guys that he can get the ball to. So I think it's fair to say that Texas has an advantage at quarterback, but I don't know. We could come out of this game feeling different if Jalen Milroe runs all over this Texas defense, which I'm not expecting to happen, but he's a talented guy in his own way. So they are different style of players.
Yeah. How about you, Nash?
I pretty much agree with Aaron here. I think that if you were to face Alabama later on in the year, there's a good chance that Jalen Milroe could very well be the better quarterback once he's had a full season combined. But I mean, Quinn Ewers had to he didn't hit on the deep ball. He had some issues, but he had an actual good day. Like, a lot of people don't realize that. If you add the 2 catches, really there was 3 catches that Jatavian probably should have had, and then another 4th. We're talking like a 76% day completion percentage wise. And something that was very promising to see was when he was blitzed, he was 12 for 15. So He was very good.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the other area where he excelled, and we saw more of last week than we saw last year, was the RPO game. Like the Jatavian Sanders touchdown was an RPO pass. The Adonai Mitchell touchdown was an RPO pass. Quinn's actually really good when he just fakes the handoff. His footwork, he doesn't need a lot of footwork in those situations. It's kind of like one step, fake handoff, and then gets it out quickly, right? He knows where he's going. He's just bam, 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 gone. And he's excellent at that. And usually the scheme is drawn up pretty well that those are open, which is why I think we saw more of them last week, and we could see more RPO this week. But that kind of gets me into the keys of the game for this game Saturday, and it's a lot of it centers around the quarterbacks, which is why we started out talking this way. So, when I say RPO game is short footwork, he doesn't have to worry about that like he does in the long balls. He usually has like a 5-step drop on the long balls, and then he's got to get planted and reset. Whereas the RPO, he's almost planted right off the bat. I think it's kind of a mental thing, because by all accounts, Quinn was hitting those deep balls in practices, in the fall camp, in training camp, in the build up to the game. And reportedly, maybe it was just kind of first game jitters, but that leads me to ask the question. This is one of the big keys to the game for me. Can Quinn and this Texas Longhorn team go on the road in a hostile environment in a big game and stay composed and come out with a victory? Nash, what do you think?
I think they can do that. I have my doubts on how much Quinn will be able to fix, because I think the deep ball issues are form related. And like to your point about the RPOs, I think the reason why he does well in the RPOs and the play action games is that's something that allows him to thrive off his elite arm talent that he has. So he's not having to, use his lower body to get the ball further down the field.
All right.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Quinn is I think he's going to be able to handle the pressure. He's never really strikes me as a guy that's like, the moment's too big for him. He's just going to go out there and play his game. If his footwork is sloppy, it's going to be sloppy against Rice or Wyoming. It's not just because it's Bama. If he's hitting awesome passes over the middle of the field, it's just because he's a super talented guy. It's not because he's extra amped or, I think he is who he is. So I think he's going to be able to handle the moment just fine. Travis, what you were getting back to earlier in the RPO game, just even outside of that, just the scrambles, he clearly in Rice, like it looks like this season he's making more of a concerted effort to just take off. Like maybe if once he gets to the first read, second read's not there, just kind of take off. Don't take those sacks, don't hang back in the pocket forever. That might be harder to do against Alabama, but he's not your prototypical rusher, but he's kind of that Joe Burrow style where Burrow's not a dual threat guy, but when he needs to scramble for 8 yards, he can. Quinn's smaller this year. He did that on purpose, so I worry about him eventually taking hits. So hopefully when he does scramble, he's able to slide and just not get lit up by those big Bama defenders. But I think he's going to be ready for the moment. I think the big question mark is it's Sark on the road being able to make second half adjustments because whatever happens in the first half, Nick Saban's going to be ready. He's going to have a counter punch. And does Sark have a counter to the counter? Because he hasn't always had that on the road in the past for his first 2 seasons at Texas.
So you mentioned
to your point about Quinn Ewers, I think a big thing for him that he needs to change is that would be a welcome sign is he leaves a pocket when there's no pressure.
Yes,
he creates his own pressure often. Like, and that honestly, like the stats, they show that hey, when they're not blitzing, he's actually speeding himself up. Versus when they blitz, he's handling it very well. And like it's mystifying.
Well,
that's
the mental pressure aspect of it.
Yes,
and you talked about Quinn doesn't seem to get rattled, but it's very noteworthy. And Sark himself pointed this out in the post-game press conference that he moved A.J. Milroe, the quarterback coach, from the box down to the field. And Sark said, hey, I thought Milroe did a great job of coming in and settling Quinn down, whereas at times last year that maybe wouldn't have happened. It would have fed on itself and he would have been in his head. So clearly this was something that Sark himself noticed about Quinn and took steps to change to get someone who can be there and kind of like talk him off the ledge, if you will, for a lack of a better way of saying it. So this is an issue that, I don't recall anyone in the press bringing up. I don't recall anyone talking about, hey, Quinn gets rattled so easily, because he has this very calm exterior, but the happy feet in the pocket belie the fact that he does get rattled. Now, I'll say this. Sark pointed it out on a rewatch. I think he's correct. Quinn did seem to calm down a little bit, especially coming out of halftime. And the third quarter, he looked very good. Very good. And I noticed that in the Alamo Bowl too, by the way. He had a very shaky first half, came out in the second half and had a very good game. If we get that kind of play, if Texas gets that kind of play from Quinn Ewers for a full game, if Milroe can work his mentalist magic to keep Quinn on focus and on target for a full game, then I'm still going to stick with what my man Rob here says on the Specs chat line. He says 34-17, Longhorns Saturday night. We are not losing. If we get that kind of Quinn Ewers play, I agree with him. And by the way, before we move on, I would be remiss, as Sark loves to say, if I didn't mention that the only reason we're here, not the only reason, but a big reason why we're able to be here, is because we have support. Just like Milroe supports Quinn, we have support from Elite Sports Memorabilia. Guys, speaking of Quinn, if you want Quinn Ewers autographed memorabilia, flip out your phone, scan that little QR code. He's got it. He's got just about anything and everything you could possibly want. This QR code will take you to his Facebook page where he lists everything he's got for sale. I was on there yesterday. I noticed he's got one Bijan Robinson autographed mini helmet left to sell. And that thing ain't going to last, and there's not going to be another production run. You know what I mean? I mean, sure, they're going to make more mini helmets, but Bijan's not coming back to Austin to sign new UT gear for Elite Sports Memorabilia. So if you want to make sure you get the best in Longhorn memorabilia, there's only one place to go. Oh, look at that.
There goes the Bijan jersey. It's gone. It's
that one Bijan mini helmet looks like it just got sold, folks. That's the thing. There is a limited supply. Look at this.
Look at
Devondre
this. Get
Sweat.
yourself an MVP from the Rice game. Get yourself
That's right.
an MVP from the Rice game jersey.
T-Sweat came out big last week. Devondre Sweat is on the roster for Elite Sports Memorabilia. He's got everyone. He's got Bijan. He's got Ewers. He has a few Sam Ellinger things left. Just, NFL football's kicking up this week. Big Sam's still in Indy. And I know he's not the starter, but Anthony Richardson, to me, I think he still sucks. So Sam Ellinger could end up playing this season. The point is, there's a lot of great gear there. We're supported by Elite Sports Memorabilia, and he also supports the players because all of this money goes to help the players. So it's a great win-win-win. You get gear, the players get supported, and the show gets supported. Scan the QR code. We love it. And Nash messaging privately, Jim Irsay loves Sam.
He does. I mean, if you look at it, I swear Jim Irsay was ready to name him the head coach and offensive coordinator that week that they fired everybody. It was like the one guy you kept was Sam. It's just, and then I actually thought Sam was going to get his chance, but yeah, that's a whole other episode that we can go down there.
I agree with you. And by the way, back to the point, my biggest complaint about Sam was always that he did not have great pocket presence. I mean, look, Aaron mentioned Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has elite, and I mean elite pocket presence. He feels it. He moves. He knows how to step up without having to run. Like, he can run, but he knows how to move within the pocket as it's collapsing and still keep his eyes downfield and get the ball. Sam stepped into more sacks than anyone I think I've ever seen. He moved into the pressure more times than not. It was my one big complaint about Sam Ellinger, that if he ever figured that part out, he would be next. He could start in the NFL and have a good career. I don't know that he's gotten there. But Quinn, I think Quinn definitely has better pocket presence than Sam. But I do agree with you guys that he did get a little happy. He does have some happy feet. He feels the rush. There was the one play during Rice on one of those deep balls where he kind of rushed the throw because he saw a rusher coming free. And, that's one of those things where if Rice was getting pressure on Quinn, what do we think Bama's going to do? This goes back to the offensive line play. This is one of those keys, a huge key to the game. Can the offensive line hold up and stop guys like Dallas Anderson from getting free shots on Quinn, making him feel the pressure and start rushing early? Nash, what do you think? Can the offensive line hold up Saturday?
I think there's a chance, and I think that chance, honestly, not hinges, but is a large part with who's going to fill in that right guard position. Right now, you have there are reports that Cole Hudson was running back with the ones, and that's I know I might be jumping the gun on a couple bullet points here, but Cole Hudson, it's just, to me, if DJ Campbell just looks lost out there sometimes. And I don't care how impressive you are physically, how good you are, whatever. If you don't know where to be, all that athleticism, all that skill that you have it's not of use to anybody. If you're not doing the right thing. So, but at the end of the day, too, Cole Hudson, one thing that a lot of people forget is he was playing through a torn labrum at the end of the year, and nobody knew.
Yeah.
And so when people were criticizing his strength out there, he's out there playing injured. So that's something that, and he is a guy that, I'll be honest, Cole Hudson has that mean streak that you want out of your offensive lineman. He can get nasty to those defensive players.
Well, DJ Campbell was injured in the game. I don't know that he's back at practice yet. He got injured, and Umeozulu came in. I know I screwed that up. Sorry. But he came in because Cole Hudson was still out. Cole Hudson, I think, is still dealing with a lingering injury, but he is in practice. I don't know how healthy he's going to be. We don't know what the issue was in the first place. We still haven't heard what was going on that prompted Cole to miss the game, because Sark came in during the week. Sark was like, Cole and DJ Campbell are going to play. So that question, the health of that unit is still up in the air. I mean, we just frankly don't know. So it's going to be Hudson maybe Campbell, Umeozulu. I don't know, but I also think it goes beyond just those guys. Aaron, beyond the right guard, what are you expecting from this UT offensive line going up against Bama's defensive line?
I mean, there's a lot of different aspects with the interior offensive line. Like they weren't physically dominating consistently against Rice. That's a bit of an issue. You don't expect that to happen against Bama if it didn't happen against Rice. And then also, there were some communication issues, passing off stunts and stuff against Rice. Nick Saban's going to see that on film. Like, they're going to come in with stunts. They're going to try to force communication issues. And if you have communication issues at 230 at DKR against Rice, I don't know if it's reasonable to expect those communication issues in the interior of the offensive line to be fixed, for a 6 o'clock kick, in Tuscaloosa at Bryant-Denny Stadium. So I think that's a big question mark. And I think that is a big reason for why we talk about, sometimes Quinn Ewers looks like he's facing pressure when he's not facing pressure. It's because he's used to facing pressure, and maybe he doesn't have a ton of confidence in the interior of offensive line. He, is so used to having pressure in his face that he naturally gets happy feet sometimes when he doesn't even need to. So I think the play of those guys up front is obviously going to be huge. We'll have to see it. It sounds like whichever right guard goes out there is going to be at less than 100%. So whoever it is, it's just going to be a game where they're just going to have to tough it out and, really play through whatever they've got to play through. But it's a big deal, man, because I don't know if the communication issues are going to get fixed. A lot of this, I think, some of this will be fixed by Sark's scheme and his play calling, because he was just going out there. Sark was going out there against Rice. He was running the standard plays. He just wanted to see who could win one-on-one because he knew he wasn't going to lose the game at the end of the day. Against Bama, there are ways to scheme around some offensive line deficiencies. You can move the pocket. You can run a little bit more play action. You can work in some screens. You can work in some quick game. So I think some of that schematic stuff to help out offensive line play, we didn't really see in week one because it's Rice. You don't want to give it away to Bama. And Sark wanted to find out what he had in those guys, just straight up in one-on-one pass blocking or run blocking situations. So I think, there will be ways for Sark to help out Quinn and help out that offensive line when it comes to consistent pressure. Even on obvious passing downs, there's some things he can do.
The decibel level is also another thing to pay attention to, because we're at like a really low decibel level for Texas, and Alabama's going to be really intense. One thing that was really interesting to me was the offensive line play. The struggles was Kelvin Banks. Of all the people you're going to give up a sack to, your first college sack that you give up is to a Rice guy after you faced how many first-round defensive ends last year? Like, it's just it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it's communication based for sure.
And they said again that all the players said that the communication was something they worked on immediately starting on Monday, is the offensive line communication. Banks said, the communication between like the tackle and the guard and the center, that was the focus of practice Monday. I assume it's going to be the focus of practice all week for the offensive line. And even that sack, it looked to me when I watched it, like Kelvin Banks thought he was passing the rusher off to the guard, Hayden Connor, and Connor was engaged somewhere else. So the guy just went free, and next thing you know, Quinn is on his back. I mean, that's when we talk communication, that's what we're talking about. Do they understand who's picking up the blitz, or did they not? There were at least 2 sacks that were like that, where it was obvious somebody was supposed to be picking up someone. The other sack was where the defensive lineman and the linebacker did a stunt where they crossed each other, and DJ Campbell picked up one guy, and Christian Jones went in with the edge rusher instead of picking up the linebacker. And to me, it looked like Christian Jones should go for the linebacker, stunning linebacker, leaving the edge rusher for the running back, which the running back got the edge rusher still. But the linebacker was free right up the middle and takes Quinn down. That's the kind of communication that those guys, you don't love to see that they've been working on that all through camp, right? I mean, we just came off 4 weeks of nothing but practices. And in week 1, that's what you're seeing. But the flip side of that argument is maybe this is the time where you can, Sark said these issues are things we can get fixed. And he's right. This is not a lack of talent issue. This is one of those, hey, you know what you're doing. Why did you screw it up? Let's get this done. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out on Saturday.
Oh, and that also, like that quote that Sark said right there, gives me a little bit of hope that we saw a Texas team versus Rice that they were not prepared. They were looking forward to Alabama. They were already prepared. Like the players, whether the coaches, they can preach stuff all day, but if the players don't, focus on the game plan that's coming up that week, doesn't matter what the coach says in the meeting room.
Oh, absolutely. And there's no way to stop players from looking ahead, looking past Rice to Bama, right? I mean, that's human nature. They can say, hey, we're taking it one game at a time. And, this week they're like, every week is championship. It doesn't matter. In their head, they're still thinking, hey, we got Bama week 2. We got Bama week 2. You just can't stop that. But, one thing you talked about holding, speaking of, and we know from the reporting in the War Room last week that Texas held back some aspects of their defensive line, especially how they're going to use Anthony Hill for the Bama week, which is one of the other keys to this game. It's how does the Texas defense in general, but especially the defensive line, how do they get pressure on Jalen Milroe and force him to go off his first read? Because Jalen had a good game, but when he went from his first read to his second read, he didn't have great stats after that. And he tends to tuck it and run after that. So how do you rattle Jalen Milroe and still keep him contained? Aaron, what do you think? Is that?
Yeah, I think the biggest key when it comes to the defensive line this week against Bama, it's going to be to stay disciplined. If they're so focused on getting after the quarterback that you still have to stay in your designated lane. I mean, that's the big thing that we hear with defensive line play all the time. When you have a quarterback that wants to run the ball, if those edge rushers are too aggressive and they go too wide to try to get the sack, that's going to open up a lane for Milroe to be able to scramble. And I think this whole game, not the whole game, but I think the biggest part of the game for me is, can Texas minimize the scrambles for Jalen Milroe and force him to actually stay in the pocket and throw the ball? Because if he's forced to go to his second read, or if he's, forced to maybe take a couple of sacks, I think that's where Texas could have a real advantage and they can get off the field pretty consistently. But even if Texas is getting pressure isn't always going to be enough. They have to get pressure by staying honest in their traditional rushing lanes. So there isn't room for Milroe to escape outside the pocket. And then after that, you got to tackle him. I mean, you just got to bring him to the ground. Just getting pressure is not actually enough. This guy's a physical freak. I mean, I've heard the Jalen Hurts comparisons. Guys get to Jalen Hurts all the time. They don't bring him down, so whether it's Anthony Hill, whether it's, a guy like Tavondre Sweat, Jalen Ford, whoever, you've got to bring him to the ground. That's going to be the main key. So it's staying in your lane, not creating those obvious scramble lanes for Milroe. And then when you get a shot to take him down, you've got to actually do it, because it's not a foregone conclusion that when you get there, he's going to the ground. That's just, he's a freak athlete.
I don't think that's anything new against the Alabama quarterback.
We saw last year.
My bad, Travis. I figured.
Yeah, no, I agree. Anyways. We did see it last year. We saw it. What's his crap? Sorry, brain farting his name. The quarterback last
Bryce
year.
Young. Yeah.
Thank you, Bryce Young. Had a big scramble late in the game to help them win the game. And by the way, the Texas players have not forgotten that. They talked about it, and they talked about it with the press this week that they try to move on from one play, but that play may have been motivation coming into this week as a reminder of, hey, Bryce Young is one thing, Jalen Milroe is another when it comes to escaping the pocket and getting after it. So this is a focus for the Longhorns this week. So guys, real quick, if you're ready to go, and if you're ready if you're ready for game day, we talked about how Saturday is a long day. Well, you may want to use that time wisely. And one of the best things you can do is hit up Specs for your game day food and fare and drinks. Specs has got everything you can possibly want. The finest spirits, the finest alcohol, the finest food. It's got everything you need for your Saturday game day. Nash, if you're going to hit up Specs, what would you go grab?
I would, you know what? There's a
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Got him. We got him.
No, I was gonna shout out one of the Orangebloods members, but no, never mind.
No, continue your thought.
No, I'll
Great.
shout out Blackland Distillery.
There you go.
I believe it's Maui Horn that runs Blackland Distillery. But good stuff. Good stuff.
That is good stuff. And, we've been talking Bama. Well, it's time to get a little scouting report on Alabama. And to do that, we are going to check in with none other than Kennington Smith III. That's right, the beat writer. Well, Kennington, I don't know if it's fair to call you the beat writer, but you definitely cover Alabama for the Athletic. You're in Tuscaloosa a lot. You know him best on Twitter as @SkinnyKenny _. And by the way, I'm jealous of that name because the only time anyone ever called me skinny, it was in mocking fashion. So you got a leg up on me already. How are you doing this morning, Kenny?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank y'all for having me on. Yeah, I'm really excited for the game this weekend. It is fair to call me a beat writer. I'm the newest one on the beat. I've only been here for about. I'm not great at math. I was a journalism major, but I've been here since May. So, second game on the beat. Ryan Denny is going to be like an electric atmosphere this weekend. It's going to be crazy. So, I'm really looking forward to taking that in person, but really excited to be here with y'all to preview this matchup.
Kenny, if any of us could do math, we would be doing something that earned money, not working in sports.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Right? So I feel you. I'm with you. And for those of you who don't know, Kennington was covered Iowa before for, was it the Des Moines Register? Yeah. So, but you're an Atlanta native. You know the SEC. You know football. You know Bama now. You've been there since May. You said, sorry, real quick. If you guys have questions for Kennington, hop in on the Specs chat line. Get them in. We may answer them. Again, the only way to guarantee the answer is through a super chat. But we've got people like Nino excited about this interview. So, Kennington, real quick, give me your quick impressions of what happened against Middle Tennessee State.
Yeah, I think it was exactly what you were looking for if you were an Alabama fan. I think, some of the questions that came into that game, I think the three were obviously quarterback, and the two new coordinators. And I think all three of them came out of that game possibly as a position of strength. You start at the top at quarterback with the three-way competition between Jalen Milroe, Tyler Buckner, and Ty Simpson. And Jalen Milroe went out and exceeded expectations, set a record with touchdowns, 3 passing, 2 rushing. He seemed really accurate, really decisive, confident. You saw a progression from the last time he started a game against Texas A&M, and Nick Saban challenged him to play so well that they would have an opportunity to play multiple quarterbacks, and that's exactly what happened. Tyler Buckner came into the game as the number 2, led a touchdown drive. Ty Simpson came in as a number 3, also led a touchdown drive. So all 3 quarterbacks played, but you felt confident in Milroe's ability leaving that game. I think Tommy Rees brought some nuances to the offense that fans haven't seen, and Alabama's offense was humming for the most part with Milroe in the game, and that persisted throughout. And then Kevin Steele, defensively, you saw a defense that played a lot more disciplined. You saw them play fast. You saw them play confident. There weren't a lot of coverage breakdowns in the back end, and they cut down on their penalties. So Alabama checked all the boxes in the season opener. Obviously, Middle Tennessee State is a different caliber, than Texas, with all due respect to Middle Tennessee State. And Nick Saban talks about that after the game. When someone asked him about the receivers and their ability to create separation, he said, no disrespect to the team that we just played, but our receivers are going to have to get separation against a different caliber of athlete in the future. And I think that type of message, applies for the entire team. It was a great performance, but there's a serious uptick in talent level, skill level that they're going to see this Saturday, and obviously when they enter into SEC play. So really good first win, but I think we're going to find out a lot more about Alabama and Texas, for that matter, once they play on Saturday.
Oh, for sure. This is a definite bar-setting moment for both of these teams. You talked about the receivers and the secondary, by the way. The secondary is the biggest question I had. What are you hearing as the latest on safety Jalen Key and Malachi Moore? Is Bama going to have a full roster in their secondary for Saturday?
Yeah, I think later today we're gonna get that clarity. As far as in the early week, they didn't practice on Monday. We usually get some practice film from Alabama on Monday and Tuesday, so they weren't present on Monday. Tuesday, they didn't show defensive backs in the practice footage, that we got. The way that Saban talked about it on Monday, it was less optimistic. Just me reading the tea leaves, he said that his day to day. He said it wasn't serious long term, so that is a good news for the later on down the road. But for the here and now, it does feel like both of those guys are kind of leaning towards game time decisions. We do get Saban later on today, and for a presser, so I know we're gonna get that media update. But as far as Key and Moore, I would bank on at least one of them playing. I don't know if both of them are going to miss that game, but it is a touch and go situation. And Alabama secondary is one where we looked at that throughout the summer and into fall camp as one of the deeper positions on the team. And I think that depth is really going to be tested on Saturday, whether those two play or not, because they're probably not going to be, fully 100%, even if they do play. So they're going to have to rely on several guys to contribute. So big opportunity for, the Christian Stories, the Earl Little, the seconds, Trey Amos's, those guys who are really pushing for playing time, but aren't, listed quote unquote starters. So really big matchup. Obviously the game within the games that we look at, Texas's receivers versus Bama's DBs, got to be high on that list, if not number one, as far as matchups to watch. So I expect Sark to scheme some things up and try to put some pressure on some guys. If they're not the starters, to communicate well and win their one-on-one matchups against Texas wide receivers.
Kennington, thank you for joining the show today. I've been looking forward to this interview all week, getting a lot of great information here from Kennington Smith from The Athletic. I want to go back to Jalen Milroe and the passing game specifically a little bit. You mentioned that at the top. It is not maybe as dominant of a wide receiver core for Bama as it typically is, as it has been in previous years when you've got Heisman winners and you've got top 10 picks. The left side of the offensive line is a little young, I believe, if I'm reading that correctly. And there were some questions about Milroe as a passer coming into the year. I know he had a lot of success against Middle Tennessee State. What are you expecting against Texas? Under the bright lights, a lot of people think Bama, they'll be used to these big games. Some of these guys haven't played in a big game like this before. So what are you expecting from the passing game specifically on a stage like this in a matchup against Texas, who does have solid players in the secondary and a couple guys who can get after the quarterback?
Yeah, I think you're going to see, a lot of what you saw in the Middle Tennessee State game, where I really like Tommy Rees's game plan of using those kind of short intermediate timing routes, those kind of, one read plays to get Milroe comfortable in the game. I believe he started 7 for 7, 8 for 8, something like that, to kind of get him under control. And then you just saw progressively those deep shots down the field. So, the key for Alabama is to stay ahead of the chains. That game against Middle Tennessee State, they did not have a negative play on first down with Milroe in the game. They averaged 8.5 yards per play on first down. So them being able to stay ahead of the chains and stay on schedule, allow for Milroe to play comfortably. And it allowed for Bama's offense to kind of operate without having to deviate from their scripted plays because they just seem to be always on schedule. So I expect Tommy Rees to build a game plan where Alabama's going to rely more so on the run to kind of establish things, try to establish some physicality, also try to limit the possessions. Texas is an explosive offense, and the weapons that they have on that side of the ball. So to be able to control the clock, control the game, dictate the pace is going to be really important for Bama's offense. But obviously you're going to have to hit deep shots down the field to beat a team like Texas. And Milroe displayed the ability to stretch the field vertically. I think they have confidence in that. So I expect more of the same from Middle Tennessee State's game plan, where they're going to use a lot of the short intermediate routes to set things up, and then if they can establish the run using the play action to get past Texas defensive backs, and then obviously having to trust Milroe and the receivers to win some one-on-one matchups. But I think the big thing is that the big takeaway from Middle Tennessee State is that there is trust in Jalen Milroe to stretch the ball down the field. And I know we're talking about Alabama and Texas, but you look at other quarterbacks across the country that made their debut. I'm thinking of like Carson Beck from Georgia. Kate Klubnik didn't make his debut for Clemson, but it was his first start the regular season. You look at their passes, a lot of their passes came behind the line of scrimmage from 10 yards in, so there wasn't as much of a level of trust to kind of stretch that field. You saw that with Milroe. They have confidence in him to stretch the ball down the field, throw it downfield. So they're going to take their shots, and I think they have faith that Milroe is going to be able to connect on some of them.
That's great stuff. We've got a question coming in from Ruben Rios on the Specs chat line, and I think it's a good one. Kenny, how would you rate the performance of the Bama offensive line last Saturday?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag. I think you expect that unit to kind of be dominant and just kind of impose their will on Middle Tennessee State, and we didn't exactly get that from start to finish. I thought there were some good moments. I think situationally they were really good. Like I said, first down, they were able to establish some things and stay ahead of the chains. I think in short yardage situations, they were really, really effective. There were several situations where they had 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 and fewer, and were able to convert most of those situations. Obviously there are going to be some growing pains when you have a true freshman starting at left tackle, and we saw a few of those things with Caden Proctor. And then another part about that is Jalen Milroe's ability to get Alabama into the right play. I mean, there was a play early in the game where there was a blitz coming on the right side, and Milroe didn't check into the right play, and he kind of left J.C. Latham hanging on a play that resulted in a negative play. So not just the play of the offensive line, but Milroe's got to be on one accord with them as well to get them into the right play, to put them into the right situation. So it was probably a B, I guess, a B minus B type of performance from the offensive line. You saw some good things, but you always, also saw some things that they can really, improve on as well. But It is a position of strength on the team, but that group is going to have to elevate their level of play against Texas for Alabama to be successful.
Go ahead, Nash. You got anything?
Oh my goodness! Sorry, my screen literally just went black right there. Hey, Kennington. I first off, I just noticed we got to get that sign changed. It says "hooks up," but we got to change it to "hook 'em." Okay, we got to get the Longhorn slogan in there. But I did want to ask. So the quarterback is obviously the most important position on the field. Steve Sarkisian talks about that all the time. Last year, we saw a quarterback go down, Quinn Ewers, and we saw how it kind of really affected the Texas offense when Hudson Card came in. It was very limited with the running quarterback, and I'm not. We Texas fans, we're big Jalen Milroe fans. We once had him committed to us, so we love the guy. Never want to see a guy get injured, but with a running quarterback, you do risk yourself to injury more often than not. If he were to go down, what's the level of faith that you have in Buckner behind him? And if not, do you think there's a chance that Simpson would be the guy that maybe comes in?
Yeah. My level of faith in Buckner, I guess on a scale of 1 to 10 would probably be maybe a 5 or a 6. Ty Simpson is probably in that same tier as well. I feel like those two are somewhat on even footing. I feel like, with Tyler Buckner, it was coming in from Notre Dame and having that familiarity with Tommy Rees, but learning a new offense. I think that he's still learning the nuances of that offense and really like learning what Alabama foundationally is trying to do, but then adding Reese's flair on top of that. I feel like he's just now starting to turn that corner and gain a little momentum. But I still would probably only put it at like a 5 or a 6 confidence level. I think that you would see really Alabama lean into the run if Jalen Milroe were to go down and then try to just play more ball control and maybe not push the ball as deep down the field. I do think there would be an outside chance that you would see Ty Simpson as well. Nick Saban was complimentary of both of them in their performance against Middle Tennessee State, and I do feel like they're all competing in one way or another, but I do think it really is like an open competition for that number 2 spot, and that isn't quite crystallized as it is with Milroe at number 1. But if Buckner were to go in the game, I think you would definitely see Alabama lean into a more conservative approach. But I couldn't put my confidence level for either of them above a 6.
Kennington, going back to the other side of the ball, when Texas is on offense, 2 of the issues we've been talking about this week and that a lot of Texas fans have, and actually both kind of stem from the interior of the offensive line, it's can Texas efficiently hit the deep ball, because that's a big part of Sark's offense. He wants to burn teams over the top. And then can they consistently run the ball? When you think about how Nick Saban is going to approach this game on defense, do you think he's more likely to limit the deep ball and just like have a lot of guys back in the secondary until Texas shows it can run the ball consistently? Or do you think it might be a little bit of the opposite, to where Nick Saban is going to focus on taking away the run early and daring Sark and Quinn Ewers to hit that deep ball until they prove they can do it? So I guess I'm just asking, what do you think Saban's overall approach is going to be against this Texas offense coming out of the gates on Saturday?
Yeah, I think you want to turn this into the Quinn Ewers game if you can. You want to be able to take away the run first and foremost. And you look at what Texas had last year, and Bijan Robinson and Roshan Robinson, while they weren't raw statistically just running it all over Bama, they were able to get something on the ground, and you have to respect that. If you're a Bama defense, and then that dynamic being able to open up play action, be able to open up RPOs. If I'm Alabama, I want to make sure that, I try to make Texas as one-dimensional as possible. And then when that happens, Alabama has capable pass rushers to get after, Quinn Ewers. And I think Texas, in their opening game against Rice, there were moments where Quinn Ewers took some hits and he was under pressure, and I think Alabama's going to lean into that and try to turn their pass rushers loose to get after Quinn Ewers, put some hits on him as well, maybe try to rattle him and force him into making some mistakes. So I see it as a game plan where they're going to try to stop the run first and foremost, but I do expect them to be very aggressive. I expect them to turn their pass rushers loose. I expect them to put a lot of pressure on Quinn Ewers. And ultimately, if you're Alabama, you want to have a situation where it all falls on Quinn Ewers' shoulders and forcing him to just make, throw after throw after throw after throw on Bama's secondary and win consistently. And a lot of that's going to have to be, deep field shots. I feel like, it's kind of interesting. We're talking about that on the Bama, and I know that's been a talking point on social media from the Texas end about, Quinn Ewers' ability or inability to hit deep shots, but he's going to have to do that, throughout the game for 4 quarters for Texas to be successful. I think that's exactly what Alabama wants.
You've heard about that, huh? Is that
just a little bit.
I didn't know if that was making it out there or not. I don't know. Yeah. All right, Kenny, thank you so much for joining us. I do have 2 quick questions, though, for you. For Texas fans going to the game, what's the one place they've got to hit in Tuscaloosa on Friday night ahead of the Saturday game?
Oh man, that's a tough one. So but I'll say this: the best food that I've had in Tuscaloosa is from Urban Kitchen and Bar. It's like right in the heart of downtown. Pretty much any type of food that you're looking for, you're going to be able to find it. But they have drinks there, they have TVs there. Like I said, the best food that I've had in Tuscaloosa, and it's in the heart of downtown. So go to Urban Kitchen and Bar, eat some good food, catch a vibe, and then walk around downtown and mingle with the Alabama fans. And wear your Texas gear. I'm sure there's going to be, that's going to be a great conversation starter. So that you come decked out in that as well.
Hey, Nino's Corner in the chat. He had plenty of Alabama fan stories from him wearing his Texas shirts out there in Birmingham.
The other thing I wanted to know, I've always wondered this: who gets that Coke on Nick Saban's podium after the press conference is done? Do they come in and swipe that thing, or is that getting? I always want that Coke every damn week.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's the same Coke. I had someone else ask me this. Like, I think it's the same Coke. You walk in and the Coke is always there. The water is what changes. So
right.
I think
the Coke is just like built-in prop on the podium.
Exactly. It's like I wouldn't be surprised on the back of the bottle. There's like a piece of tape that says like "Do not touch" on it.
I'm just waiting for the day Nick Saban picks that thing up and throws it like it's a.
He actually almost did this week.
Promo coming up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, whether it's a Coke bottle or a crystal ball or whatever it is, that's like a built-in prop that's there to stay. So I don't know exactly who put it there because it's probably been there for years. So that's like something I'm gonna have to go seek probably. Like who was the first person to put that Coke bottle on the podium.
I mean, come on, they paid to have that thing up there.
I'm feeling like there's a good sponsorship going on there.
Right. Oh yeah, most definitely.
All right, I'm gonna put you on the spot real quick. Can you give us a score prediction?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. That spread 7.5, just like a little too rich for me, but I do have Bama winning. Doesn't cover slightly. It feels like a 28-21 type of game for me. Texas is going to make plays, obviously, and so is Bama as well. But I just, Bama's defense, I think, is just so improved from last year. Even if you don't see it statistically, I just think that they're just going to play a much cleaner game defensively. I don't think they're going to have as many penalties. I think they're going to be able to tackle well. I do think, communication-wise, they should be fine in the secondary, and I do think that there's going to be opportunities for Milroe to make plays in that game. So it is going to be a close game, but home field advantage does mean a lot. I saw a stat on Twitter from an Alabama fan that said something to the effect that Texas hasn't played a road game with over 80,000 fans in quite some time, maybe even over a decade. They're going to see 100,000 plus in Bryant Denny. So home field advantage is going to play a key factor. I mean, the atmosphere is going to be electric, and I think Bama's going to ride that momentum to a one-possession win.
All right, Kennington, obviously people can find you on The Atletic, which I've been a subscriber probably since almost day one. Love it. It's one of the best sources for in-depth college football coverage, period. They can also follow you on @SkinnyKenny _ on Twitter, correct?
Yes.
Anything else? Anything else you got working on that people need to check out?
Really just going to be, just continuing to preview the Texas game from multiple of ways. Got something coming out on Jalen Milroe today. Going to be talking about just kind of maybe what's at stake for each team later on, in the week. Going to be doing some things on some impact freshmen from Bama. It's interesting that they had two true freshmen lead the team in snaps on offense and defense, Caleb Downs at safety and Caden Proctor at left tackle. Those are going to be two huge positions when you think about what Sark is going to be able to do offensively, maybe trying to isolate Caleb Downs and put some pressure on him and make him make the right decisions. Caden Proctor, obviously, against Texas defensive line, I'm sure they're going to have something exotic to throw at him as well. So those are going to be two important cogs, in Bama's system as well. So just kind of looking at this matchup from a lot of different aspects is what you can expect, this week from me and beyond, like you said, in depth, really trying to get into things, more of like an analysis type of thing, kind of breaking down all things that Bama does and how that might impact their season. So, come along for the ride with me. Find me on The Atletic and find me on Twitter. And it's going to be a really exciting game on Saturday.
Kenny, thank you so much for joining us. This was fantastic stuff. I think we could have talked for another hour and a half on this game.
Yeah, definitely. No, thank y'all for having me on. Is anybody making the trip to Tuscaloosa?
I wish.
Not any of us. Our friend Anwar Richardson, he'll be down there, so be on the lookout for him and tell him you chatted with all of us.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yeah, be sure to look up Anwar. He's the beat writer for Orangebloods.com. He'll be in the press box. So If you see him, buy him a drink.
Yeah.
Or have him buy you one.
You know, when Tuscaloosa gets an airport, that's when I'm flying in.
Okay.
Oh no, I almost called in some favors from a
Thank you so much,
with a private plane. I tried to get some things going to get out there.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the game, and we'll chat with you again some other time.
Yeah, for sure. Thank y'all for having me. That's
Kennington Smith III in the scouting report. If you didn't learn everything you need to know about Bama from that, I don't know what else could you possibly want. Guys, that was fantastic stuff.
I had a lot of fun. I was looking forward to that interview all week whenever you first said we were going to be able to have Kennington on the show. If you guys like that interview half as much as I did, please hit the like button. You guys have been doing well with the like button lately. Leave a comment about what Kennington had to say after we're done with the video. Hit us up in the Specs chat. But yeah, I mean, that was a lot of good stuff. I'm just even more excited about this matchup after talking to Kennington. He had a lot of interesting stuff to say there about Jalen Milroe and how, there's been deep ball conversation on this channel and, on Texas Twitter, but there were some questions there. He answered them in week 1. Can he hit the deep balls again in week 2? We'll see. Could be a little different, but yeah, I mean, that was a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, I was surprised honestly, I'm surprised at just the sheer enthusiasm on the Bama side that Milroe's going to have a big game. It feels like they really liked what they saw out of Middle Tennessee State, but it was still Middle Tennessee State, right?
Yeah, but you want him to look good instead of, maybe doing a little bit of what Texas did and coming out the gate slow. So, it's Middle Tennessee State, but you can't knock them for going out there and executing like they were supposed to.
No, that's right. He did execute, but we'll see if Colby's right that he gets 2 picks. I think he's also predicting a Texas win, as is Rich on the Specs chat line. We love it. Nash, what do you think real quick coming out of there?
I honestly, I've been consistent in saying this. I think that Milroe having a great game versus Middle Tennessee State Middle Tennessee is that's a positive for Texas. And what I mean by that is we have some very good defensive backs. We have some very smart defensive backs. There's multiple NFL players back there, and you could even argue there's probably a chance that every single one of those members will make it onto at least a practice squad at the very minimum. And but so when you think about it like that, I'm almost glad that he had a very good game so that he has some confidence in his arm. But I want there to be false confidence there. I want him to say, you know what? I can hit this throw. I can hit it. I can make a risky throw, and then risky business doesn't pay off.
Yeah, that's interesting because I agree. I agree with you that if he does try to do too much with his arm, it could be a problem. But I also agree a lot with what Kennington was trying to say. I don't know if they are going to put him in that situation. I think the design quarterback run game is going to be that's going to be the game plan on Bama for offense because I think that's the easiest way to stay ahead of the chains.
Well, and even more so too, if he gets injured, like he said, if you get injured, Tyler Buckner taking over and just we're doing the same thing, hand off the ball.
Well, I think it's going to be a big run game plan for Bama any way you slice it. Even with Milroe, I agree with Aaron that the design quarterback runs will be as much a part of that plan as anything. They're going to take the shots because they have to. You have to keep the Texas defense as honest as possible. But if Texas defensive line can get pressure and rattle Milroe without having to blitz as much and leave the linebackers in the secondary to A, spy in case he has to run, and B, to cover the receivers and the back coming out of the backfield, that's going to be tough to beat. But you know what, guys? We've got a lot of Bama football still left to talk for the rest of the week. Why? It's Bama week. So we're not done. Come join us again tomorrow. We're going to be talking about our own plans, our own ideas on what we think is going to happen. We're going to be giving some score predictions for the Texas Bama game. Well, not score predictions, but predictions for who we think is going to end up winning, who we think is going scoring the first touchdown. We may have a prediction on does Milroe throw an interception? If so, how many? I don't know. Join us tomorrow to find out. We're going to have a full week, a full show of Bama talk. And we're also probably going to have a little Aggie Fact Thursday because it's Thursday and you can never go wrong with Aggie Fact Thursday. So, guys, be sure to join us tomorrow. If you like what you heard, click that like button for us. Smash it. Smash that like button just so you understand what I'm asking for. Be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you can see when we're going on air. This was a lot of fun. We hope you enjoyed it too. We hope you join us again tomorrow, and stay tuned to Orangebloods Live throughout the day. Anwar Richardson's coming up next with the Old Fashioned Sports Talk Show, followed by House Divided, Jeff Ketchum and Chad Hastings. And then Alex Dunlap finishes it off with Football with Friends. Guys, do we have do we have an Outsiders tonight too?
Yeah, we got the OB Outsiders. They're 3 days a week now. They're going Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So yeah, I mean, you got Chance Mock, you got Chad Hastings, you got Bo Edge, you got all those guys coming at you tonight. So
that is a lot of fun.
It's funny to watch the the button heads of Bo and Chance.
Love it.
Fun.
You could just leave it on OB Live all day and you will be entertained and informed and get a much better grasp of what's coming up on Saturday. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for supporting Elite Sports Memorabilia. We already had one person scan the QR code, and that means there's one less item up for grabs. If you want to join in the fun, you can grab your phone and scan the QR code as well. I was just on that Facebook page. Hey, he's got a Ricky Williams autographed jersey for sale. Ricky frickin' Williams. If you don't love that, I don't know what's the matter with you. I mean, you can't get any better than that. But he's also got a lot. He's got a lot of stuff. I mean, he's got a lot of gear just waiting for you to sign.
Look at that.
Oh yeah.
Mention Ricky, and he already.
Hey, see. We already sold the John Robinson signed helmet. Now the Ricky Williams autographed jersey's going off the board. You don't want to miss out. Head over to Elite Sports Memorabilia. That QR code will take you right there. You can get whatever you need, really. I mean, he's got a full roster of players, including current players.
Roshan.
Like he's got Roshan from last year. He's got current guys from this year like Adonai Mitchell. A.D. Mitchell has already signed. He had one touchdown week 1. I'm betting he has another in week 2 because all that dude does is score touchdowns. So
he's going against Alabama.
And it's against Alabama. He's familiar. Adonai's familiar with it. There you go. There's another one off the board. You don't want to miss out. Scan that QR code. Go grab you some gear. It's good for you. It's good for the players. It's good for us because we're supported so finely by Brandon and Elite Sports Memorabilia. So thank you guys for everything. Thank you for joining the show. We hope to see you again tomorrow for at Nash Talk Texas with his fantastic cut-ups on YouTube. For at Aaron Little, who is a baseball, football extraordinaire. He knows his stuff, and he's the producer of the show. So he's double dipping while hosting. I'm Travis Gailey. Thank you.